What is going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Clocking Out. I'm your host, PR the King of Hearts, and today we are here with Ro. Ro, how you doing?
And I'm doing good. I'm doing chill. It's pretty nice. Inside the AC because this Texas heat ain't no joke.
I know, man. Over here in New York is pretty hot, also, so I can only imagine down there, man.
Oh man, it's as that why it's called concrete jungle. It doesn't matter if it's hot or cold. It's just horrible either time. Either way.
Exactly, bro. We can't win either way. We can't win. So before we get into asking some questions to go in deep of who you are and everything like that, I'm going to give you a second to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and give us a little bit of background of your experience in your profession.
Oh, for sure. So my name is Rogelio Lalde. People call me Ro. A lot easier for everybody else. From the good old small town of Lufkin, Texas, and pretty much I just live life, try to do the most that I can. And people are like, "Where you been and where you at?" Man, I've been everywhere, nowhere at the same time. So
I hear you, man. And I see you got the black spot tattoo back there, man. I mean, the banner, right?
100%, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from?
Yeah, so yeah, small town, Lufkin, Texas. I'm actually mixed. My mom is Honduran, and my dad is Mexican, and they met here actually in Texas. I was born in 1998, and ever since I was just a little Ro, basically. Ever since I was a little Ro, I just always admired their American dream to come over here and do better. So I was like, well, let me just piggyback off of that, and then continuing that part of the dream, and just doing better myself, whether it be going to school or practicing a new trade, finding out what I like to do, what not like to do, and basically just kind of like breaking some traditions and then making a name for myself. That way, I leave a little bit of a legacy when my day comes.
Nah, I hear you, man. I'm all about the same thing too. My family came over here for a better life also, man. And I've just been trying. I'm a father of two, and I'm still here trying to make something and leave it for my kids. You know what I'm saying? A legacy also as well. So I understand where you're coming from with that. And
Yeah.
as far as Black Spot, before we go into anything else, being that that's the first thing I see back there, how did you get involved with Black Spot tattooing? Are you a tattoo artist yourself, or like what's your involvement with them?
I'm a different kind of artist. I do content creating. I just hold the camera, make them look pretty, make them sound good, upload it, and then let the followers do its thing.
And what was it that really got you into starting to make content, especially like wanting to focus on going somewhere like Black Spot Tattoo when you could do just your own content, or you can charge people to make content for anything else? Why is it that you started right there, and why are you focusing on making content for them?
Well, I found Black Spot because a friend of mine wanted to get a tattoo, and then we got a tattoo last minute. We were 30 minutes before they were closing. And then a friend got a tattoo, and I kind of like just liked the vibe here, and I just kept coming back, and I just kept coming back. I was basically annoying, and I was that one neighbor kid that just kept knocking at the door, but like, hey, can I come over and play? Or hey, can they come over and play? Whatever. And so I just kept coming back, and then Ben at one point was like, since you come here a lot, you might as well just stay here. I was like, I might as well. But what got me into all of this content creating was back in high school. I graduated in 2016. So back in high school, my freshman year, my mom wanted to learn photography, and her only knowing so much English, college wasn't an option for her because it'd be way too advanced for her. So I took photography class in high school, and then whatever I learned, I taught her, and then I kind of just like stuck with it, and I just transferred. Well, I guess I translated photography language into video language, because a quote says, "A picture tells 1,000 words." But a video can tell a story. So I'd rather tell stories than just 1,000 words. So I kind of like stuck with it. I would make home videos. We would go out for vacation, make travel videos with the family. And then it got to the point where I was like, I kind of like this, just making content. I'm not making video. I'm not making movies. I'm not making commercials. I'm just taking pictures, making videos, uploading them, and then putting my own twist to them and see if people like it. And if they don't like it, well, too bad. I like it. So I upload it.
Nah, I love that, man. I'm the same way too. I got into content creating for the same thing too. My very first, like, I used to be into music. I was trying to be a music artist myself. I didn't like the way the music industry was going, so I just like kept making music but keeping it to myself. But then the more and more I got into it, I started noticing that, I would have to pay for either studio time or to make music videos or little things like that. And I started diving into it and trying to, find other people that were doing it themselves and learn from them. And the very first person that I fell in love with that made me want to start vlogging myself was Casey Neistat. I
Hey,
sprung it. Yeah.
Casey is cool. I met him once in
Ah,
Austin. I met him in Austin, Texas.
I was super jealous, man. I mean, one
Yeah.
day I live in New York, and I always go out there think I'm gonna bump into him, and I go purposely by his studio and everything, and I never see that dude, bro. I
Man.
thought I'd see him in his little boosted board or something riding around, and I never caught the dude. But
That's
seeing,
where I saw him. I saw him skating on his boosted board at the Capitol.
damn, man,
Yeah.
I would have been dope. But yeah, he was the one that got me and inspired me to try and do vlogging to some extent. And the reason I bring that up is, who was someone that inspired you to start like doing, besides for you and inspiring yourself and being into it and starting by going on trips with your family and everything? Is there a specific content creator that you look to or that you refer to get inspired by?
Ironically, Casey's friend, Jesse Wellens.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, from BF versus GF, that OG YouTube channel way back then. Because of Jesse, I liked his style of content, and most of his stuff is solo film. And so I would look at it, and then I would try to copy it myself, and I'm like, man, I couldn't do it, so I'll do it again, and I'll do it again. And it got to the point where I would see movies, not because of the movie, but to learn new camera angles or learn the new editing styles. So now I can't watch a movie in peace. I'm watching a movie, I'm critiquing it, and I'm like, how can I copy that and put it into my own stuff?
I hear you. I was the same way too. I got into it where I would watch stuff to try and learn like camera angles or transitions or like the background music and like little things like that. And it got to the point where it's the same thing with me. Now it's like even a movie, a commercial, a TV show, I'm always paying attention to the lighting or what angle they did, how they transitioned here and there, or how is it that they were able to go from one scene to another and make it seem like it was like perfect, like it went together perfectly and everything. So it's like, when you don't have someone physically that you can go up to and ask questions and have them show you like hands-on, like you have to refer to people like that. So I totally agree with you. I know where you're coming from on that. And as far as Black Spot Tattoo, what type of content do you create for them over there?
For Black Spot?
Yeah.
Mainly just anything that has to do relating to tattooing. Now, I don't like, and I'll say it with confidence, I don't like skits. I hate creating skits because sometimes it takes a special kind of person to read a script and then act it out, you know. And then if I can't do it, I'm not going to show them how to do it because I don't know how to do it myself. And so basically, I just either I'll make content that's relatable to other people. So we have this section called Chair Talk. So basically, it's like a mini podcast, but for like 2 minutes or less. I just record the tattoo artist and the client, have them a conversation. Whatever topic they talk about that's juicy, I upload that part to social media, and then it hooks or it doesn't hook, and I just keep going at it. Apart from that, I'll do like quick glimpse of the tattoo from like start to finish. It'd be like 30 seconds to a minute, or just writing text. Like I'll write on a piece of paper, like it'll be like a either meaningful message or something dumb. The one I just uploaded 2 days ago, it said, "We know the saying, if the walls or if these walls could talk, you know." And I was like, "What if our tattoos could talk?" And then instead of us telling the stories about our tattoo, imagine the tattoos being like, "Well, he thinks he's the shit, you know, but in reality, he's not all that, you know."
I love that. No, I love that concept and those ideas, man. That's real creative. Also, can you walk us through your process for creating a video or for coming up with concepts for your content that you create?
Oh man, it's super easy, super simple. I don't even think about it. The less I think, the more I do. And I will just sit here. I'll probably sit at the office for about 2 hours or so. This is realistic. I'll sit here for about 2 hours. Think, what can I make? I'll scroll on TikTok, scroll on Instagram. I'm like, nothing's really catching my attention, and I'll just start thinking of something dumb. And then I'm like, that could work. And I'll make a video about it, upload it, and I was like, all right, it turned out pretty well. So the less I think, the better I do making videos. Because if I overthink it and if I overplan it, sometimes I put 110% effort and I get 20% results. But if I put 20% effort, I'll probably get 110% results. And so it's kind of like a mix. And then people are like, "Oh, you're the niche or the algorithm or whatever." Like, man, I don't know any of that kind of stuff. If it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I just keep doing trial and error. I mean, I have a video from a year ago that's kind of keeping the TikTok alive because I still get notifications like, "Hey, somebody liked it, somebody favored it," and that was from a year ago, and it was a topic about lucid dreaming. And so it's kind of like just honestly just a hit or miss. I'll make stuff that looks cool, or I'll make stuff that doesn't look cool, and I just upload to upload. But like I said, I won't do the whole skit thing. That to me is like it's kind of dumb. I'll just keep it the same way it is the whole time. Just put the artist's face on there. I hardly ever put clients' faces on our social media page, just to tattoo themselves, and that's pretty much it. So it's not much thinking process on my end, just because I don't see it as like a high production type of thing. Now, if we were doing high production, yeah, I'll like sit down, whiteboard it out. Would want to get input from other people. I get input now from other people, and before I upload some videos, I'll show like the tattoo artists or the managers or whatever. I'll be like, hey, do you approve of this video? And they'll be like, yes or no. And I'll be like, all right, cool. Now I know not to do this style of content. I'll just go a different way. So I just don't upload to upload. I'll get approval first on certain videos, and then see the direction they want me to go to.
And is there a specific type of content that you prefer over another, or a specific type of like way that you want to create videos, or short or long form or anything like that? Like I know a lot of people, they do vlogs, but they do like real life vlogging type of stuff where it follows them throughout the day. There's other people that they'll specifically focus on doing things that it's informative or giving like tutorials on how to do stuff. Is there anything that you prefer over the other, like that you like to do and like to create?
Oh yeah, I like silent film. I like when the person in the video isn't talking and doing more, and I like when the audio does the talking for you. And so I basically silent film. I didn't realize I would like silent film, but I like silent film to where if you're just walking at a pasture, right, and you have this audio of somebody giving an inspirational quote, you're not doing the talking. The audio is doing the talking for you, but the image correlates to what the person is talking about. And so I kind of like that, like meaningful imagery with meaningful message behind it. And it doesn't have to be you talking. It'd be something from like, I don't know, Rocky Balboa or Denzel Washington or something like that. Just a quote that they said that relates to the situation that's happening on screen. Because in reality, I didn't realize this, but as I'm doing more content, that audio is actually 50% of the whole video. You can have a good image, but a bad audio, and the whole video sucks. But you can have a really bad image, or you can have an okay image and a really good audio, and it still be a good video.
I agree with you. I kind of learned that the hard way too, and I noticed that the audio and those things like that really, I feel like those really make a difference when you're editing. It
Oh
can
yeah.
help you edit it more. It can help it stand out more. It can help grab people's attention more and keep it. So I agree with you on that. Those are things that I feel like you really don't learn or notice until you're really like hands on and you're in it
Hmm.
yourself and you're going through the steps. Those are the things that you learn from firsthand experiences. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you next related to that is I know a lot of people when they want to start creating content and everything, they overthink about the equipment of what they're using or what program or where they're uploading and anything. What was like the first equipment that you were using that you first started creating your very first video or your first bit of content? Like what was it that you used? Was it a cell phone? Was it a camera? Like what was it that you turned to and that you started with in the beginning?
Oh, I would guess. Luckily, I use the high school's equipment. I use a Canon T5i, one of the like worst beginner cameras you could ever use. And then I was using their software, their Adobe license, because they would have Lightroom and Photoshop, all that kind of stuff. So that's where I basically started off at. But if we're talking about like on my own, man, all you really need, and I tell people this all the time that want to create content, because I've had conversations like this multiple times. Like, I want to make content. What kind of camera do I need? What kind of computer do I need? I'm like, you don't need anything. You got a phone? Be like, yeah, that's all you need. I made some of my favorite videos filming with my phone and editing through my phone. And that's all you really need. You just need to know how to film and how to edit. You don't need fancy equipment. It's just a luxury for me to have, like this iPad Pro. It's just a luxury to me. It's a luxury for me to have a Canon. It's a luxury for me to have a drone. It's just a luxury. But in reality, if you have a phone and you know how to edit, you know how to film, that's all you really need. Like you don't need no fancy equipment for your own content. Now, if you got a client, that's a different story. But for your own personal content, all you need is your phone. That's pretty much it.
And what was your first client when it came to any content creating or video editing stuff?
My first official client was a family friend. They had um, wedding. They had a wedding, and that was when I was like, I guess like 16, 17. My mom would take the pictures, and I would edit them, and so we go like hand in hand a lot. So that was like that was my first official, I guess, paying job that my mom would probably give me like I don't know, probably like $50 or something like that, way back then. And then from there, it just snowballed to where I would do a lot of quinceañeras and a lot of weddings. But now, I honestly, like I don't even like doing them. Like I turn them down just because the amount of work for the amount of pay you get is not hand in hand. It's
What?
mainly more work than it is pay.
Nah, I hear you. And what would you put? What do you prefer more? Do you prefer doing photography or video?
Video, all day, every day, just because in the reality of it, and people might deny it, but the reality of it is you can grab a camera, you can grab your phone today, take a nice picture outside today and upload and be like, book with me, for for this much, whatever, and you just take a picture with your cell phone. Nothing wrong with that at all, 100%. If you want to start if you want to start photography and you just want to use your phone, hey, go for it. But video takes a lot longer to understand and comprehend than it does a picture. Because a picture, you just take it once. Oh, I don't like it. Take it again. A video is like, hold on, we got to redo all over the thing. Or if we did a specific action, like if somebody had to jump off a ramp with a skateboard, be like, hey, hold on, bro, you got to go back up there, reset, catch a breather, do it again. I don't like it. Do it again. I don't like it. And all for like a 5 second clip, you wasted 2 hours.
Yeah. And so,
And
what,
so
what do
I prefer video over pictures.
if anyone was going to be starting to either do one or the other, or if they just wanted to get into that field, what do you think, or what would you advise a beginner? Do you think they should start in videography or photography? Do you think they go hand in hand? Does it matter if they do one or the other? Does it matter if they only do one? Like, what's based off your firsthand experience, what do you feel is a good way to start for either or do you think that they should try to have a little bit experience in both?
I would say have experience in both, just because you can make a good video and then there's this one specific shot in the video you want to screenshot it and then upload it. And if you understand photography, you'll understand angles and lighting, which also will translate to video. Because all it really is, a picture is just one still image. I mean, a picture is one still image. And then if you're like, oh, I need to take a video of this, just hit record and just stay there and probably move to the left or move to the right or whatever. It's not really that hard. To me, my personal opinion, they go hand in hand. And if somebody wants to start doing some sort of content, just start making content and then have other people critique it, but actually critique it. Don't take like a silly picture and be like, oh yeah, it looks good. You get five, it looks good. And like, no, if it doesn't look good, I'm gonna tell you it doesn't look good. If I think the colors are off, the colors are off. Now, am I a professional? Do I know everything? Not at all. I still need to be critiqued that on my work. But I would say just make it and have people critique it, but also don't get offended by it. I mean, we all do. We all get offended by people not saying our work is good, but learn from the critique and then just keep improving by then. And a whole bunch of social media. Look at TikToks, look at Instagram, look at YouTube. I still do that to this day. I still go on YouTube and like how to do this in Photoshop, and I'll learn from there.
Do you feel, because the reason I ask is because I'm trying to get better at all this myself, and I always ask a bunch of people different stuff, and I always get a mix of all go to school for this or go be an apprentice for that, or like just learn by yourself. What do you feel is a good way for people to start? Do you think it matters if they go to a professional school for this? Do you think that makes them better or less better than a person who does it themselves and goes on YouTube like you're mentioning, or just tries to learn from other creators? Like, what do you feel is, do you think that there's a right or wrong way to go about it? And like, what would your recommendation be for anyone, like where they should start as far as getting properly informed and educated to take those steps in those fields?
To make all right, I think if you go to school, college, we won't count high school because I did it. If you go to college or university for some sort of media, in my personal opinion, I feel like you're just wasting your time because whoever started it didn't go to college the first time. They started it and they're like, hey, I got a course for you. Take it for me. So the very first director didn't go to school because he was the very first director. So in that point, I'm like, it's better off for you to learn on your own, but also learn from people that have been doing it for a long time. They're like, hey, what about this? And then they'll critique it, but then you'll have another person be like, no, do it this way, do it that way. But I prefer doing self-taught and self-learning and then getting getting other answers from different people, even if they're not in the field. Like, I really like movies where they get inputs and opinions from people that specify in those fields. So, for a good example, John Wick, Keanu Reeves took gun courses to make the movie John Wick feel more realistic because he took those gun courses for John Wick. Other movies that involve like American Sniper, I'm pretty sure that most of the actors in there had to be part of some sort of course. Top Gun, a lot of the actors did go to aviation school and learn what it was like to fly in an airplane, so you get actual reactions to it. And plus, they actually did film in some of the planes. And so, basically, it's kind of like self-taught. Just go out and do it, learn from it, watch a lot of behind the scenes, and then understand that this goes with this. So basically, some things will go hand in hand.
And with all the content that I've seen on your page and that you share and everything, I see a mix of stuff of like traveling vlogs or like traveling content that you have. And I know that you also have something called EF Ultimate Break, which is to help people book like traveling arrangements and things like that. Can you give us a little bit of information on that, how that started or how that came about?
So I've always wanted to go to Canada. Canada was on my bucket list 100%. Always want to go because a lot of the YouTubers that I watch are from Canada. And I see their videos and I'm like, I kind of want to visit there one day. Lake Louise was on my top of the bucket list. And a really good friend of mine, she showed me this website, that EF, and I was looking through it. I was reading the information. I didn't know anybody that went through that website or went through that company. So I kind of was like a guinea pig and I just did it. I just closed my eyes, put my credit card information, hit submit. And I was like, hey, if it's a scam, it's a scam. But as long as it's on the credit cards company money, it's all good, you know?
I hear
And
you.
yeah, so it's on the credit money, it's all good. It ain't gonna affect me that much. And so I waited for the day of the trip, took the trip, and it's crazy. It's crazy when I explain it this way because the category that I'm in, it's ultimate break, and there's different categories for different age groups. Ultimate breaks from 18 to 35-year-olds. I'm gonna say this right now. I hate when I talk about it because I sound like an ad, but it's from 18 to 35-year-olds, and you book it, you get a group message of the people that are going, and you have like a face and the name on a specific app. And then from there, you just show up to that country. You wait at the airport, and y'all meet at this hotel. And like, hey, this is your roommate. This is your roommate. And be like, all right, good luck. So on the very first day, you just meet all these strangers. You just know their name and their face. And that's about it. You just meet all these strangers, and like, wow, it's kind of weird and kind of cool at the same time. But I chose Canada because one is on my bucket list, and two, if something were to happen, you just go downstairs, and the United States is right there. You know, just in case something were to happen. And yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
No, keep going.
And then, so you go on this trip, you meet all these strangers from day one, and then depending on how many days you are, probably like the fifth or sixth day, you're basically brothers and sisters with everybody because you're basically with them 24/7. You share all these stories that you haven't shared with back home. You tell them things you haven't told your best friends back home, and you're like, yo, we're kind of bonding, all that kind of stuff. And what I hate, which I didn't do, luckily, is that at the end of the trip, everybody just goes home, right? And like, all right, we had a good time. You come home, you tell about the trip. And I was like, but I don't like that. I want to keep in touch with my people. So my roommate, his name is Connor, I kept in touch with him. And I was like, hey, dude, you want to go to another country together? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we booked about 2 months ago. We went to Croatia together. And me and him went together. And then now we're looking to book another trip together again. And so I'm like, he was my roommate that I didn't know very first day in Canada. And then now this is a guy that he now lives in Boston. Now it's just some guy that I want to travel with just because I met him in Canada. And it's just super cool because this is a forceful way to meet new people, but also feel safe at the same time.
Yeah, bro, because like the way you're saying it, it sounds more suspect. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, all right, you're just gonna randomly go here. Here's a picture of somebody, and you'll meet them and just
100, yeah,
good luck.
100%.
It sounds like some hostile shit. Like,
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
I'd be shitting bricks. I don't know how I'd be able to do that. I will be honest with you, because I'm a type of person where just traveling, I can't travel alone. I suck at it. I got anxiety like a motherfucker, only because I have 2 kids. So my thing is like I co-parent. So it's already bad enough as it is that I'm not with
Right.
them every single day. So
Yeah.
when I have to travel, like I think of the worst. I think of like, what if something happens? I'm not here, an emergency or whatever. So I'm always hard on myself. Anytime that I take a trip, I always feel like if I'm gonna go, I can only go for like 3 or 4 days, and then I gotta go back. And even when I'm out there, it's hard for me to really enjoy myself because I'm
Hmm.
always thinking about one. If I go by myself, I have a hard time trusting people or like connecting with people because like I'm a secluse. I'm trying to break out of that, which is one of the reasons why I do this to like get out of my comfort zone. But it's one of those things where I'm overthinking of who I'm around, where I'm at, if I could trust these people, like how much focus I need to have of my surroundings and my personal belongings and things like that. You know what I mean? And then you always hear like all these different crazy stories, especially people traveling by themselves. So it's like all that comes in my head. Like, what are some things that you would suggest or recommend for people that would like to travel but have an issue such as myself as far as like overthinking or not being comfortable, especially when it comes to like, because what you're saying, it sounds fun in the sense that it's a little bit crazy and out there, but at the same
Hmm.
time it's exciting because you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know who your roommate's going to be, you don't know what they're going to be like, and you
Yeah.
don't know what type of adventure you're going to have, with these strangers in a place that you've never been to before. So what are some things that helped you take that step and do that, or what are some things that you would recommend other people to break out of that so they can get comfortable and they can have that experience that you had yourself?
Man, I was in some way. If people were like, "No, you weren't like that in the past," or "You're not like that now," there are still some days where I'll have like anxiety and I overthink a whole bunch of stuff. But it's not that I'm not trying to like portray it. I mean, I will sometimes feel it, in the moment where I'm like, man, I don't know if this is right. So I still feel that way to this day. But what helped me out and do it the very first time was I was too much in a routine and I was so much in a comfort zone that I was doing my day to day. I could basically do it with my eyes closed. I'll just go here, go there. Everything was the same for me, and I want a little bit of excitement. And what kind of helped me out was if if I see all my friends do study abroad or they'll go and travel, and they're probably doing like family trips with their parents and siblings, all that kind of stuff. If they could do that, go to these awesome countries, I want to do that too, but on my own terms. And so I kind of just like booked Canada right away and then just crossed my fingers and hope for the best. Now, I will say, on my way to the airport, flying and then landing in Canada, I was scared. I mean, there was a time where I was just like crying. I was like, "Am I doing the right thing? Am I supposed to be where I'm supposed to be at?" And then I was like, "If my parents could cross the country in the most horrible situation, and I'm over here living lavishly, going through a plane, I'm all right. I'm chilling. I ain't. It's not that bad. Now, if something were to happen, luckily in Canada, everybody speaks English. The conversion rate is not that far off. And if something were to happen, just show my passport, be like, "Hey man, how do I get back down to the States?" And I'll just find my way back home or whatever. So I would say travel to a country that's close to home in case something were to happen. And once you get the feel of it and you feel more comfortable, have trust in whoever you have trust on, and then just explore more out. Um, but still keep your guard up because you honestly just never know. You just never know. But I would say just take the risk, do it. Who I traveled with, ironically, people are like, I will tell girls this, like, hey, you should try it, just try it, and they're like, oh no, I feel scared. What if something happened? I'm like, most of the people that are on the trips with me, they're all females because they feel safe on these trips. I'm like, if they can feel safe, I can feel safe. If they feel good and comfortable with the tour guides and the places they go, I can feel comfortable wherever we go to. So if they feel safe, I feel safe, and they still solo travel to this day. And some of the girls they're repeat travelers, and they keep going and going and going. And some of them ambassadors. And luckily, I was announced ambassador on this last trip. And so now I guess I'm part of the girlies now. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta I gotta be like them now.
So
But
yeah,
but it's fun.
I agree with you, man, because I think about that too. Like the very first trip that I took going anywhere, and it was out of my comfort zone, bro. But I took a friend of mine. Luckily, I was able to take him with me. Was VCon last year. It was like the first time I ever really went nowhere. Before that, the only time I really traveled was back in like 2013, 2015, and I went to Vegas, and it was for my job. I used to sell weapon accessories to like the military and stuff.
Yeah.
and they had a gun show. So I was the regional sales manager, and they were like, yo, you got to go. And I'm like, nah, like, I don't want to leave. Like, my daughter was just born. And they're like, yo, it's either you go or you're fired. And then my boss was like, bro, you're going to Las Vegas and you're getting paid and you're going to have an allowance while you're out there to do whatever you want. Why don't you want to go? I'm like, I just don't like traveling. And that was like my first time going by myself. And like, it was a benefit. I got to see like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these motherfuckers show up because they were there with the tanks and the guns and all that. But the whole time me going, I kept thinking about like, I was nervous. And the first thing that popped in my head is like, my parents came out here from Puerto Rico, but my mom has family here. My dad, he left his whole family in PR and came here to nobody. He just came here with my mom and everything. So I kept thinking of that. And it's like you said, like I looked at it like, yo, if my dad could take that trip and he could come here and he didn't do it without second thought, and he's good, like I could do this shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm getting paid, like, you know. So I hear you on that. But what I wanted to ask you also, leading up to like everything that you're doing with traveling and stuff, what is it that got you to like, or not even that, like how many trips did you take before you got to the point where you were like, you know what, this is cool, this is normal, like I'm used to it, it's not a big deal? Or do you feel like you still get that feeling of nervous or like overthinking anytime that you travel?
No, not anymore, at least. But I've only took one trip with two friends, and then that's what triggered me to like, all right, I want to do more solo travel. So it just took one road trip from Texas to California to be like, you know what, I should start doing this. And then I had nothing to push me though. I had nothing to be like, hey, you should like go out and do it yourself until that website and me wanting to go to Canada. So it only took one trip, one long 24-hour road trip from Texas to California to be like, you know what, I should consider doing solo travel.
And what do you prefer? Do you prefer road trips, or do you prefer taking a flight, or have you ever been on a cruise or anything like that? Like,
So
what different types of traveling have you done?
the road trip that I guess me and my friends do, it goes hand in hand. Sometimes it's really fun, and sometimes it just fucking sucks. So it's either long and boring, or if we have enough time throughout the whole time we're on vacation, we'll stop at different places and like check different places out or whatever. It may be an outlet, or maybe this one barbecue joint in Louisiana that supposedly has a world's famous barbecue, and it was pretty good. The first time we went, it was nice. Cruise, I haven't been on like big cruise ships, but while I was in Croatia, I lived on a small crew boat that fit like 35 people. That was everybody on the trip, and we would island hop. So we would go from the mainland of Croatia. We would go to these different little islands every single day, and that was kind of fun. I thought I was gonna get seasick, but not at all. Planes, I don't know. I did my first 9-hour flight. I hated it so much. You know, it was not fun at all. So it all just depends. You know, I mean, I don't know if there's like a right or like a fun or non-fun way of traveling. It all depends on what you're gonna do during those travels. So I would kind of suggest more of a road trip, because you can stop along the way, stretch, do some scenery, and then it'd be all right. On the cruise, you just see water and more water. And on a plane, you're stuck in a little coffin, you know. So you're just confined to a small spot. And me being a wide guy, it's not that comfortable in one of those seats. In economy, is not comfortable. And if I had first class money, I'd be in first class all day, every day.
Nah, I hear you. Trust me, bro. When it comes to traveling, I can't win. I can't be in a car for too long. I get really annoyed. So like the longest trip I could be in a car for is probably like 3 hours. That's probably and we have to stop. If we don't stop every once in a blue, I'm gonna lose my shit. On a plane, the longest plane ride I had was the one to Vegas, and everyone's like, "Oh, going to like Vegas from New York is only 5 hours." My shit was 6 hours. I don't know why, but it took me 6 hours to get to Vegas from New York. And I was losing my shit. I couldn't. And I was like, I don't know why. Maybe it was the way that the job that I work for planned it out, but we were in like a shitty ass airplane in the sense like it's just 2 rows and like this like the ones that you see in the movies that crash all the time. Like we weren't one of those shits. And every time going there and coming back, I was always on the seat near a window, but on the wing, like right near the wing. So it's like a little turbulent. I felt everything, bro.
Every single thing.
I was shitting bricks the whole time. And then I've never been on a cruise because I feel like I'll just have a panic attack if I wake up and go outside and see nothing but water. I'll lose my shit. I don't know what I'll do. I don't know what's gonna happen. So like Titanic is always in my head. I can't get that out. And that's the last thing I want to do is be floating on a door in water with sharks or something. Like me and water, we don't get along that much. So that's
Yeah.
why I asked, because I'm just wondering like if one's more easier than the other. I've only traveled like a handful of times, and I feel like I don't have enough experience to be like, yeah, this is better than the other. But I know I can tell you for a fact like what I hate about traveling. So that's why I asked that. But what I want to ask you next is like you're definitely a person who is experienced in many things. You're a jack of all trades. You wear many hats. On your profile, I see that you had like this little it was like a clip that you put up, and it was like, yeah, none of these people know that I'm heavy machine certified or something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Like, so I see that you do that. I see you do the videography. I see that, you travel and everything. What are some other things besides the videography and traveling do you do or that you have experience on?
So I picked up woodworking in 2021. I bought a laser engraver, and I always start laser engraving anything and everything. If it can be burned, it can be lasered on. So I do a lot of coasters, a lot of coffee mugs, like ceramic mugs, cutting boards. I did some metal pieces, so like some AR-15 mags, some sliders on some pistols. And so I would just the thing is I hate being bored, so I'll find something to cure that boredom. So I picked up laser engraving. That's one. Two, I picked up jewelry cleaning, and I bought me like an ultrasonic, like little tank or whatever. I bought the solution, and I would start cleaning jewelry. I learned how to buff and polish, so I bought me a little Dremel tool with like a buffing wheel on it. And my mom's rings, like, they're all gold, so I would like buff them and polish them, and then went from scratched up rings to like mirror finish. Um, so I'm constantly cleaning like two of my bracelets here that are silver, and then these two necklaces as well. So I'm constantly cleaning them, and people are like, "Are those new?" Like, no, they're not new. I just cleaned them. And so I picked that up. What else did I pick up? I went to automotive school. I went to Universal Technical Institute. So I went to UTI. So people are like, yeah, I got a UTI. So I went to UTI and I studied Ford. And I guess I specialized in Ford. And I worked at a Ford dealership for about 2.5 years, did diesel work for 2 years. And I got out of it because it was killing my love for automotive industry in general. So I used to go to a whole bunch of car meets, but while I was in the dealership, I hated going to car meets because I have to see a car and be like, oh, I know what's wrong with it, or I can fix this on it. So I would not enjoy cars anymore. And so I left the dealership. So now I have a project car. So I still use my mechanic skills on a day-to-day basis. So now I work on my project car. It's a '93 Volvo 240 that I'm gonna restore just to have, and hopefully build it up to take to car shows and compete in these car shows, like organized car shows, not Walmart parking lot car shows, but actual convention center car shows. The heavy machinery. I used to work at United Rentals. I was their EA, their equipment associate, some fancy name. And so I was a porter. All right, I was a porter. That's what I was. And I got my heavy machinery license on forklift certified. It's expired now, but I can say I was forklift certified. Operate a whole bunch of machinery and pretty much that. So that's the thing. Like, I just hate being bored. So I guess if people want to like be like, oh, how do you do it? Just be bored. Just get bored and find something to occupy your time, and then you won't be bored anymore. But you'll master it, and you'll be bored of that, and you'll find another hobby to do.
No, I agree with you. I tend, it's like we mentioned before, like when I want to get into something, I go from enjoying it, and then when I get too into it, I start critiquing every little thing about it, or I can't go without noticing one thing or another. It's like it just stands out in my head, and it kind of takes the joy out of it after some time. You're like, yo, I want to, like, you can't shut that part of your brain
Yeah.
off, like you can't help it. So I get what you're saying, man. Out of all those things that you do, is there one that you prefer over another, whether it's doing the wood engraving or any of the polishing or any of the content creating, or just working with your hands or physical labor or working with technology? Like, is there one that you prefer over another, and if so, why?
If I had to put in a list, I would probably choose like content first, and then automotive second. The content, because one, I started flying drones a lot more. I mean, I've flown drones for about 5 years, but I'm picking it up a whole lot more now, and I just like flying with my drone because I'll get to show people bird's eye view. You be like, hey, this is what the birds can see from their perspective. Here's what the sunset looks like. Here's how here's how your car drives from their point of view. Basically, scenery. And so I would put content creating at the top of the list, just because I can tell a story rather than 1,000 words, and I want to tell your story. So if we did a video about you, I want to tell your story and your point of view and why this matters to you and not nobody else's. And so content first and then automotive second, but automotive on my terms. I don't want to work for another dealership where it's like, hey, fix this and that's it. You're like, no, I don't want to do that. If you came to me and it's like, hey, bro, I got a $5,000 budget and this is what can I do with my car? I'll be like, all right, cool. What do you want to do with it? You want it to drive a lot better, or you want it to look cool, or do you want it to go faster? And then I can give you a list of like, here's the parts that I've used personally on my own car. Here's what you could use to make it handle better, to brake better, to accelerate a little bit faster. I like doing that kind of stuff to where like, you give me a budget, here's a list of parts you could get to put in your car, and then just see where it goes from there. And then have it to be like, oh yeah, it does drive better, or not, it doesn't drive better at all, whatever. And so I like that the most, where you give me an assignment and I give you this, but also don't take my word for it. Give me your feedback on certain things, not just automotive, but on everything. Like don't take my word for it, because I'm not right at all. Nobody's right all the time. And so if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but also tell me, but teach me on how to do better.
100%. I agree with you. I'm a big person on getting feedback and being critiqued as well. Because if not, we don't learn, man. Right now, I feel like there's a lot of people that want to support and like, back us up and everything, and they're always like, yo, this is good, this is awesome. But at the end of the day, you know deep down inside, be like, yo, I know it ain't that good. Like, just tell me,
Yeah.
be honest with me. Tell me what's really up, like, so I could get better. I'm just trying to learn. This is why I'm doing this. And so I agree with you on that, man. And I'm a hands-on person too. I like doing multiple projects. Sometimes I drive myself crazy, but then I also feel like I work best when I'm under pressure. You know what I mean? That's
We
like,
all do.
yeah, and like that's like you start dragging things, but then when it comes close to the deadline, it's like you just get like this second wind and you're there. You're just
Oh yeah.
not like nothing, man. So I know, I hear where you're coming from on that. But with all the things that you're experienced in, all the things that you're doing, from the videography, from making content for Black Spot Tattoo and yourself, and traveling and the wood graving and working on cars and all this stuff, how is it that you manage to balance, your time between all of this? And not only by doing what you have to do because it's work, but also doing what you enjoy doing, as well as making sure that you're not doing too much where you burn yourself out. Like, how do you manage to balance and maintain all that?
There was a point where I would leave work, go home, and only do laser engraving. Either if I had a client, if I had a commission job or not, I would do some sort of laser engraving, and that was every single day, to the point where I burnt myself out. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I took like a 3 month break from laser engraving, and then from that 3 month break, I realized I don't have a schedule where it's like Monday and Tuesday cars, Wednesday and Thursday lasers, or Friday polishing. Like I don't have a schedule. I don't have a schedule at all. What I do sometimes, I'll sacrifice my sleep, which is not ideal. I don't recommend to anybody, but I'll sacrifice my sleep to do things that I want to do. So I'll come home, like today. I'll get off at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock y'all's time. I'll get off at 9 o'clock here, and I'll go home and I'll eat something, or I'll shower, whatever, watch a little bit of TV, and I'll probably be done within an hour and a half. So it's like 10:30. I was like, man, I still got like an hour and a half of the day, and I'll go work on my car. Which is, last night I worked on my car for about 2 hours. I went back home. I went back inside, and I realized, oh, it's 12:30. I was like, snap, let me shower real quick and go to sleep. And that's what I did. So I will sacrifice some sleep for some of my interests, but in reality, I don't overthink it. If I don't have anything to laser, I won't laser. I haven't been in my laser shop in like 2 weeks because I haven't advertised anything, because I don't want to do it right now. If I'm bored, I'm like, I'll go do something real quick. I'll advertise it and whatnot. And so basically, I kind of like make sure that I'm okay physically and mentally to work on a certain project. And if I'm not either physically or mentally right, I'll probably still work on that project, but I will do less work on it. So if I did 3 hours of automotive, I'll probably do 1 hour and then go back inside, shower, and just chill on the couch or whatever. So I will definitely make time for it. Now, it may take me longer to accomplish it, which is fine with me because it's something for me. Now, if it was something for somebody else, I will prioritize it and rush it out. Not rush it out, but make sure it's done in an appropriate amount of time. But I'll pick and choose if I feel like it or not. If I feel like it, I'll work on it. If I don't feel like it, I won't work on it. I don't overthink it. I'll just let it be. And that's pretty much it. Because my project car I bought in January, and it was sitting in the front yard for like 3 months before I even touched it. And then now I'm like, all hands on deck. Let me work on it almost every night. And so I'll take a good break and then get back on it. And so I'll honestly just pick and choose. I won't prioritize it. I won't make a schedule for it. I won't burn myself out on it because it'll get done one day. But it's someday certain projects will get done.
And besides for time management, what are some challenges you face when it comes to juggling all these multiple roles and things that you're into, and how did you overcome them?
Prioritizing which one I want to do the most. Because I'll have a conversation with a friend, but oh yeah, Ro does it all. He does automotive, this, does that, whatever, and be like, yeah, I do it all, but I just don't want to do it all sometimes. And so, yeah, like previously, I'll just take a break from it, and sometimes I'll just stop for like in general. I'll just go to work, go home, and sleep. That's like pretty much it. That's all I'll do. So that's basically how I overcome it. Sometimes I'll just stop and then start over again, and then stop and then start over again. So basically, it'll come in waves of how productive I am. Right now, I'm in my productive wave. Maybe next week I'll stop.
And
It all depends on money because parts are expensive.
I hear you. What's some advice you would give someone else who's like you, who's who wears multiple hats and has many different roles of responsibility? What is some advice that you would give them in the sense of, if they're trying to look into taking it more seriously or just being more productive or making more money out of it or whatever it is, what would you advise them to do in a way that they could do it properly without, like I mentioned, burning themselves out or stressing about it too much or putting more time into one thing over another and just basically losing themselves and feeling like they just get to a point where they're doing something that they feel that they have to do and they don't enjoy it no more? What advice would you give that person to prevent them from just not being in love or having a passion for what they're doing anymore?
I would say find somebody that is curious on what you're doing and how you're doing it. Because if they're curious, no, yeah. If someone like me, I would say find somebody who is curious about what you're doing, so that way you can relieve some stress of knowledge and put it onto them. So, for example, this past weekend I went to a car show in Houston. It was a small little car show, and a friend of mine wants to get into photography. I'm like, cool. What kind of photography do you want to get into? He's like, I don't care. I just need to get better. I'm like, good answer. Come with me to this car show, take pictures. I'll give you some pointers, and then we'll go from there. And he's like, all right, cool. So it felt good for me to sit back a little bit and kind of be like a teacher, a mentor to somebody who wants to get into the field. And it relieves some stress off of me because I'm not like, I have to take this picture. I was more of like, let me help you take this good picture. And if it doesn't turn out good, let me show you. I'll take the picture, but like, look at the difference between mine and yours. And he knows, like, I tell everybody this all the time. I don't care how many years I've been in the field that I'm in. I'm not going to be the best. I'm not going to claim myself as a professional because I'm not. And I probably will never be because everybody improves every day. But I would say find somebody who's interested in the things that you're doing because they feel interested, and it's super fun. I don't know, but to me, it's super fun finding somebody that is interested in laser engraving. And I'm like, hey, come over. They'll come over. I'll teach them, and that sparks the love interest that I have for laser engraving again because I'm teaching somebody how to do it. Instead of just me sitting alone in my shop, I'm like, all right, let me do this, and this, make it look cool, and be like, all right, it's whatever. But somebody's like, how do you do this? I'm like, oh, bro, let me show you. Let me show you my shortcuts. Show my shortcuts or whatever on how to do certain things. And so I would say that find somebody that has an interest in what you're doing, teach them, so that way it kind of helps you as well to find an interest in it again. Because if you don't talk to people that have an interest with it, you're gonna burn yourself out. You're gonna feel bored. You're gonna feel lonely. You're definitely gonna feel lonely because nobody has the same interest as you do. So you're gonna be like, nobody cares. Why should I keep doing it if nobody cares?
100%, man. I agree with you. I get that feeling too. Sometimes I feel like I pour a lot of energy into this or time, and like I mentioned, I always or like you also like you know when you get too into it, you start noticing things, and it's like you try to have conversations with other people about it, or you bring it up, you're like, yeah, this is this and blah, and then you notice that people really don't care, and then you feel like you're just alone, and like you don't have anyone to relate to or that you could talk about these things. And at times it could kind of just like slow you down a bit, and it makes you question like why are you doing it, or what's the end goal, or like what are you trying to get out of this. And so I hear where you're coming from on that. It does take a lot of like trying to find other people who have common interests basically, or the same moral compass of what you're trying to do and trying to accomplish.
Oh
um
yeah, because like with you with music, like if I really want to get into music, I'm like, hey, tell me the difference between like mid bass and treble. Like tell me the difference between like this megahertz and decibel readings. Like tell me the difference between this and this and that. You know, like what is a 60 HZ compared to a 45 HZ? Like I want to know the difference between all that kind of stuff and what defines clarity and what defines muffledness in certain songs. Like if I were to get into that, I would first learn about it and then ask questions about it. That's another point. Yeah, yeah. If you're interested, learn about it first. Ask questions to somebody that you want to learn off of.
100%, man. And you mentioned how you put a lot of stuff on social media, and how like you're fighting against the algorithm and everything like that, which is really annoying because every social media, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, whatever it is, it's different. There's the algorithm is not the same for any social media content, and then on top of that, the algorithm is always changing damn near every other day. So it's hard to keep up with that. But how do you use social media to promote or build any engagement with the people that are following you, or that are interested in working with you, or are just either clients or supporters or followers or whatever? How do you utilize your social media, and which one do you prefer, or do you prefer one over another?
Uh, the second one, which one prefer over the other? I prefer Instagram over everything, just because Instagram and I guess Facebook, they're kind of the now I guess the OGs. Because if we think OGs, we think about Bebo, High Five, MySpace. We think about those days. But I guess now in the new age, Facebook and Instagram, I will consider like the OGs now, because you have both pictures and videos, and not a lot of comments or post feeds like Facebook does. You don't have somebody's grandma tagging somebody or whatever. On Instagram, it's just point blank pictures and videos. That's it, nothing
Yep.
else. Um, and how I'll use it to promote. Honestly, with for example with Black Spot, me and Ben did a video on some T-shirts that Market designed, and in my head, and I was like, this is the most stupidest video I ever did, but it helped sell like 6 or 7 shirts, because I was like, it's stupid, but stupidity sells. Like stupidity sells, and we'll see a lot of those videos where they do like a stupid transition of like, let's say, there's a video of like a pig falling off a truck, and then it transitions to somebody rolling on the
Yeah,
ground
yeah.
and doing something else. I'm like, that's real stupid, but it caught my attention, and stupidity sells. Um, and so pretty much that, like I'll find different ways to either catch people's attention, or if I'm like, this doesn't sound like a good idea, I'll film it and upload it either way, and just see where it goes from there. Now, I will say, for any kind of content, I get inspiration from the opposite field. So if I do tattoos, I'll sometimes get inspiration from like the medical profession, or like boutique stores, like hair salons or whatever. So I'll find inspiration from other places to go hand in hand with the content I want to make. Um, in anything, and to like help promote or do all that kind of stuff, man, I'm still learning as I go. The algorithm, the social media right now is way too quick for anybody, and you can make the dumbest video and it'd be the next trend, or you
Uh-oh, hold on, we froze. What's going on? Uh-oh. Oh, hold on, go again. You froze up real quick, and you're freezing again. Can you hear me? Do you see me? Okay, what happened? Is it me? You? Can you see me? Can you hear me? What happened? I see you. I see you moving.
all
Can
right,
you
now
hear
I
me?
can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Now we caught up. Yeah, you were just staring. I was like, it was either me
Yeah.
or you. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that again? What you last said?
Yeah, I was saying that shit, what was I saying? I was saying about what was the last thing you heard?
The social media, the algorithm changing, and how it moves too fast for
Oh
anybody.
yeah, yeah. So you could be the new trend. You can make a dumb video and be the trend, or you could make a video of a trend and people be like, "Oh, that's like 3 weeks old, bro. That's like old news." I'm like, 3 weeks. 3 weeks was 3 weeks ago. It's not that old, but because of social media, everything was way too quick. And so
And
you just gotta keep up or be it.
yeah, no, I hear you. It's especially when you're doing it by yourself, man. And you could kind of drive yourself crazy with like recording the content, editing the content, putting it out, and trying to keep up with responding to people and everything. Where a lot of other people who are knocking things out like crazy, a lot of people think it's them by themselves, but they got a whole team. They'll have like 3 or 4 people working their social media. They'll have like 4 or 5 people doing the editing and recording them and following them around with it. So it's like it's a bunch of stuff. And when you're doing it by yourself, you're going through the motions, you're learning everything, you're getting experience on everything, a little bit of everything. And it's like you start getting better at it, and it starts building and it starts growing. And that's when you start learning little tricks and you start taking advantage of certain applications or AI and chat GPT and all these other things to help you move along. But I agree with you, man. It's hard to keep up with it. Every day it's evolving, it's changing. And then you also have to try to keep up with the trends. And it's like you keep up with one trend, and as soon as you feel like you got to figure it out, it changes. There's something new. There's a new wave. There's a new thing going on. But I hear you, and I remember the video that you're talking about, the one where you and Ben showed up wearing the same shirt and everything like that.
Yeah.
I pay attention to all those, man. So I hear you where you coming from, man. Um, what is it that inspires you to actually create content? Like and just be creative in the sense of doing different combinations, like you said, like sometimes it's the dumb stuff that works, sometimes it's other things. How do you get inspired, and what is it that you choose over another? Like you'd be like, you know what, today I'm gonna make this type of content, or we're gonna focus on doing this type of video. Like, do you just go by how you're feeling that day, or do you actually like try to let the people who are following you and like the trends like dictate what you're doing? Like, how is it? Because some people like to go against the grain and they like to have their own thing and they don't care what's going on online. They're just going to do their own thing. And there's other people that try to, fit into that algorithm life and try to make something that's going to work and be like everybody else. Like, how do you make your stuff to stand out? And what do you do to help you decide what you're going to focus on and what type of content you're going to create?
To answer that, for both my personal and Black Spot stuff, I go hand in hand with just doing it on my own, making my own stuff, not caring what other people think, but also getting inspiration from other channels that do it. So the one thing I like the most, and I've noticed that a lot of inspirational channels and sometimes coffee and tattoo channels, they'll write like on a mirror. They'll write a message on the mirror. That's like, if it's on a mirror, be like, "You will look good today with a tattoo," and that'd be the whole video. And I would be like, "Man, you know what? That's a simple thing to say, but nobody's saying it. You're just reading it, so you're reading it to yourself. So I'm gonna do the same thing." So I did it. I did 2 videos like that, where I was like, "How not to be a loser," and then the next clip was like, "Oh, you're still here? Let me show you how not to be a loser." And then the other clip was that one where like, if the walls could talk, same thing, like if tattoos could talk, but I wrote it on a piece of paper instead of me saying it. So I'll get inspiration from other people, because like, if I like it, I'll post it. Now if I like it and other people don't like it, there are people that have the same interests as I do, so they're bound to like something of it. Um, and honestly, every time I see that somebody shared it or somebody favored it or somebody commented on it, I'm like, that's what hooks me in. I don't care what video I make, as long as you shared it, favored it, or liked it. No, not liked it, because liking it's pretty easy. Favoring it, sharing it, and commenting, I'm like, that's what kind of engages me. I'm like, oh snap, this style is good. Let me make more of it, but not oversaturate on that specific thing. Because once you oversaturate something, people are like, all right, it's a one hit wonder. Get over with it. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll do that, and then doing my own thing. I tell people this all the time. If you don't make a video and you rewatch it multiple times, you're not going to upload it. But if you make a video and you rewatch it by yourself, you're like, oh, let me see it again, or let me see it again. Like, oh, this is a good video. I did it. And you watch it 50 times, you're going to upload it. You're going to like it. Regardless if people like it or not, you're like, this is what I like.
100%, man. I agree with you. I do that a lot myself too. Sometimes I look at it, I be like, yo, fuck what anybody thinks. I know this shit is hot. I'm putting it out. I don't care. Like, and I do it. I don't even care. It'll get like 2 views, 1 like, 1 comment. And I don't even give a fuck. I'll be like, you know what? Fuck yeah. I know this is the shit. Fuck the algorithm. I know what I'm doing. Like, so I get like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then we look like idiots because if we post it on our story, we're like, all right. 30 minutes later, you look at your own story, and be like, oh, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, yeah. What I wanted to ask you next, with everything that you have going on, is there any specific upcoming projects or trips or anything that you're excited about or that you're working on that you're finally happy that you're going to get to do, that you've been having in your head or that you wrote down and you've been planning out and you're getting closer to being able to actually finish or start? Is there any project or anything like that that you have in the works right now that you want to share with us?
Oh, for sure. So with the drone stuff, if people don't know and they want to get into the drone things, you can have a drone and fly for fun all day, every day. That's cool. But if you want to use it in a business aspect, for sure, get your Part 107, your FAA drone license. I took my test, but the system got messed up with my test taking. So it said that I never took the test, so I got to retake it. Big plus on my end because I know what the test looks like now. But I got to retake my test because something happened with the system on the FAA side. So yeah, I'm gonna retake my test and hopefully get more into the drone business, whether it be, and it's not real estate. Because people are like, oh, you're gonna do real estate? Like, no, not real estate, but more of like 3D mapping, 2D mapping, lidar detection, lidar mapping, making 3D models of certain buildings. So that way, if somebody is a developer or contractor, like, hey, we need to put new windows on this building or a new roof, we need a scale of it. They're like, all right, cool. I want to be part of that project to where I could make a 3D model of a building, give it to a contractor, be like, hey, here's your mapping of a certain building. So get into the more of like boring corporate side, but I want to be a contracted person. I want to be employed by somebody. I want to do my own thing in my own time. Um, so that's one thing. I'm going to VCon for the first time.
Nice.
So I'll be there with my big old camera and microphones everywhere.
I love it.
So I'll be there in August. I'm going to Oklahoma for Labor Day weekend, taking a little family trip down there. Hopefully, fingers crossed, going to meet my Croatia friends. They all live up north, like Massachusetts, New Jersey. And so hopefully we meet up in October of this year, have a little reunion going on. And then, I don't know, we'll see what other country I go to next year. Because that's the thing, I'm going to go to a new country every year with EF, depending on the time and where I go. So last year Canada, this year Croatia, next year I don't know yet. We'll see.
I love that, man. We've been streaming right now for an hour and 4 minutes. We have, oh, sorry, I'm getting phone calls. We've been streaming right now for an hour and 4 minutes. We got 24 people tuning in. We got 18 people on X. We got 2 people on YouTube. We got 5 people on Twitch. I want to give a shout out to Nacho. For a long story short, then we also got Nath, who was in here on X, who came in, and then we also have Sylvia, who stopped by. Thank you guys for coming by, showing some love and kicking it with us in the chat. Please make sure that you go and give Ro a follow wherever you're listening or watching this episode of Clocking Out. The information to any of his socials is going to be in the description below to wherever you're watching and listen to this, whether it's live or pre-recorded. So please go and give him a follow. Before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you, Ro, what do you see yourself, or where do you see yourself in your various ventures in the next 5 years?
So next 5 years, one thing's for sure, I will probably, and I might jinx myself on this, I'll probably never move out of Texas. I like this country. That's how big it is. I like this country so much that I'll probably never move out, but I'll probably be doing my own thing, following the footsteps of Ben and his brother, them becoming business owners and doing things for themselves. So I'll probably follow their footsteps and doing my own thing as well.
And as far as Texas, real quick, because I need to ask you, I've been debating on going down to Texas. I want to go down there just to visit because I told Ben I was going to do it. But even before I met Ben and I got to know him, I said I wanted to go down there. I've had this thing in my head of wanting to go down to Texas because I would like to move down there. I know it sounds kind of crazy. So I want to ask you, for me coming from New York to go to Texas, do you think that it's too big of a leap? Do you advise anyone to go to Texas? Do you think it's a thing like that people should stay away because once you get there, you can't leave? Like, what would be your take for advice for me if I was planning to either go visit or if I was planning to go stay? Do you think I should just visit and just go and leave, or do you think it's a good place to go and set my roots down and make my stand there basically?
You like to drive?
Yeah, somewhat.
All right, because you're gonna be doing a whole bunch of that here. There's a whole bunch of driving. You'll drive for 5 hours and still be in Texas. And I know for a fact you'll drive 5 hours and you go from New York to Jersey and no problem. Here you from border to border, from east to west, it's about I think 12 or 14 hours from corner to corner of Texas. So if you like driving, 100% come down here. But if you want to like actually just move to here to move down here, I don't see why not. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people moving down here, so which means a lot of things are increasing in pricing.
Mhm.
But the biggest cities are the best cities. So either San Antonio, Houston, Austin, Dallas. Houston depends. You know, if you got hurricane season, you won't get flooded in. There's no doubt about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'll say go for it. If you have the right game plan for it, and you have the mindset to, I mean, you already live in the city, so there's no difference between chaos. The only
100%.
difference is driving everywhere. So yeah, I'll say if you got the good mindset for it and don't mind traffic and don't mind good and worse drivers, then yeah, why not? You know, it all depends on what city you want to be in, and you'll get judged on what city you're in. So
I hear you on that, man. What city do you think is the best city if I was to go out there to get a good experience of Texas?
I'm totally biased, and I always say Houston, Texas is the best city in Texas. One, because I used to live there for a little bit because of school. Two, a lot of the known rappers and artists are from Houston. Three, it's multicultural. Like you have everybody in there. Um, if you want Thai food, cool. If you want halal, cool. If you want some nice cuisine, cool. Like everything's there. And Houston is so big, you can drive 2 hours in Houston and still be in Houston. So I just like Houston overall. Except during hurricane season, it sucks because it gets flooded.
I hear you, man. So I'm definitely gonna go down there, man. I don't know if I'm gonna go down there. I'm trying to go down there before the end of the summer. I was supposed to go to VCon, but things ain't working out too much. I don't know if there's some miracle for last minute that I'm able to go. I'm gonna go. I got some people that are telling me they're willing to set me up over there. I got people offering me tickets to go to VCon, and honestly, the only reason I want to go is just to meet everybody, meet people like yourself, be able to meet Ben in person for the first time, and so many other people from this community that I've got to meet, but also because I'm really, when I went last year, I documented my whole journey. And this year, just so you will have a heads up, also they're really strict on what you get to bring into VCon. So make sure you check that, because last year I had to lie out my ass saying that I worked for V Friends and all. I hope they're not listening, because if so, I'm fucked. But I had to lie. I was going around with this big ass Canon camera with the mic and all this shit, and every
Yeah,
time they kept stopping me, like, you can't do that. You can't. I'm like, nah, it's okay. I'm part of V Friends. Like, they were like, oh, okay, whatever. But this year I hear that they're gonna be really strict. So I'm wondering, I got my little DJI shit right here that I'm gonna take over there with me and sneak that in with my little mic and hopefully get some content. So, but I kept name dropping people that I knew in the community that work for V Friends. I'm like, yeah, I know Jeremy, I know this, I know that. And they were like, oh, okay.
yeah,
That's how I sneak through it a little bit. But this year they're so strict to even making you wear, like, you can't wear backpacks. You have to wear like a sack that's like freaking see-through or something. Like, they're really strict this year for whatever reason. So just keep that in mind just in case. But I'm definitely gonna try. If I can't go, I know before the end of this year, I'm definitely going to Texas. I want to go meet Ben. I want to go get tatted up over there. I never had a hand poke tattoo, so I want to try that out and see how it works. But
oh
yeah,
yeah.
man.
If you come down to Houston, if you come down to Houston, man, I like people. I like showing people Houston. You know, I can show you the free stuff, or I can show you the expensive stuff. So it all goes hand in hand. So if you ever come down to Houston on real talk, real shit, like if you ever come down, I'll be like, hey Ben, I gotta go to the airport real quick. You know, I gotta go pick somebody up.
Appreciate that, man. I'm looking forward to it. I would love to collab on some stuff, man, and learn some things from you because I love your content. I love what you do, man. And you know what I'm saying? I'm always trying to learn from anybody else who has that real firsthand experience because I feel like that's the best way to learn, man. So if we can get out there and just chop it up and share some things, man, I would love that.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely. So this has been another episode of Clocking Out, Ro. Thank you so much for stopping by and for giving me your time and for sharing a bit about yourself and informing us on so much stuff, man. I truly appreciate it. You're a monster, bro. You have experience in so much shit. You seem like a person that doesn't stop. You're going after the money. You're staying productive. You're staying positive. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, overall, bro, you seem like a good dude, man. And I hope I get the opportunity to meet you in person and you know, see where it goes from there. And maybe we can just work on some stuff, man.
Oh, 100%, no doubt about it.
And if there's ever anything I could do, if you're ever working on any projects or anything, man, that I can help promote and shed some light on, just let me know. Shoot me a DM, bro, and I'll always do whatever I can.
Hey, vice versa with you on that.
Appreciate that, fam. Thank you, everybody, for chilling with us and kicking it with us in the chat. I truly appreciate it. Make sure that you're following us and subscribe so that you don't miss another episode. Be sure to go and show Ro some love. I put his link to his social media in the chat as well as it's in the description of wherever you're listening or watching into this episode of Clocking Out. I'm PR, the King of Hearts. We are chilling here with Ro. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. I love y'all. Stay safe. Peace.
All right.